مثلا Menahot Daf Chavav Amud Aleph, 4 lines down. New Mishnah. Nitmeu shireha v'nislefu shireha avidu shireha. If the extra part of the mincha became tameh, burnt, or lost before the comments is brought on the mizbeach, kimidat Rabbi Eliezer kishra. According to Rabbi Eliezer, he holds that regarding a korban, if the blood can be thrown even if there's no meat, then it's the same thing by the mincha. It's kasher even though there's no comments, even though there's no extras. According to Yeshua, but according to Yeshua, who holds that blood is required for the meat by a regular korban. Therefore, over here as well, you'd hold it pasul. Imarav, Amarav, v'hushnit me'u kol shreya. When Yeshua says that a minha is pasul when it becomes tameh, the actual becomes tameh, is only when all of it became pasul tameh. But if only partial, it's okay. At this point, we think that ma'in avud instead of law. Only in the case of tuma, partial is okay, but not if it's lost or burnt. My kasavar, why does he hold that? Ikasavar shira matlahi. If you want to say that remainder is required, I feel avud instead why would it make a difference if it's only tameh? What if it's lost or burnt? Ikasavar shira lav milti. If you want to say that the extra means nothing, and this man I why tuma be different? The man says seeds should get kapara. Yachi kosher nami. So even if the whole thing's gone, the whole thing's tummy, that seed should get kapara. What would be the nafka mina? Where it says la'alam kasafar shishlam really it is a factor. Benitma v'hu adin avod zerav. Mentioning tameh, but it applies all tameh, lost or burnt. Why did it mention tameh? You just talk about the first case. Okay, Tanya, but it says Rishon Measure says the cause of Achim Shbira all Quran of the Torah Shnishtayer Mehen Kisai Basar Chalev Side Chalav Chalev. If a kizayit amount of meat or chelev is left over, zorek that means throw the blood. If it's partial of a kizayit, you can't throw it. But regarding the olah, afilu kazi in chelev by the olah, afilu kizayit basar chazir chalev is partial. Zorek that you can throw it. Minisha kula kalil, it's all burnt. They can combine. I feel kula came at the whole thing is just not throw it. Gemara says, "Well, I mean, mincha ma'avita. Why mention mincha over here? There's no blood." Gemara says, "I'm gonna put minchat nesachim regarding to a nesach libation mincha. If it's all destroyed or whatever it is, then you cannot throw the blood." So now we think, well, since you're bringing it with a korban, it's considered like the animal itself. Therefore, it's teaching us that it's not the case. Therefore, the blood cannot be thrown unless some of the meat or halib is still there. Amar Yochanan mishum bishmael, umatu baha mishum Reb ben Hananah. Amar kra pasul ve'iktir halib zereyach nichoach laHashem. Halib ve'af pish en basar. Right? This is burn the halib for Hashem. Halib, even if without the, you don't need the meat for zerika. But ashkan halib. Now I know that halib is good enough. It to shake that even if there's the chest or the diaphragm or the kidneys are okay, sufficient. Telling me mincha, feel kulak emet laizra because Brad says that even mincha, all of it exists. You don't need to throw blood. Mishin mincha who laizra only mincha of nisachim. You can't throw high. You tell it to shake chayof. But you throw like to a regular korban that has the diaphragm and the kidneys. You can't throw it. Minan who knows from the Gemara says Yochanan b'idei Amar Yochanan said himself. Derech nicholach and pasuk nicholach kosher them and then brings a good smell for Hashem, which is that. Basically, I think the Halib is I think that the Reach why need to pasuk of Halib and Reach Nichoach? Diktarach Bena Diktat Halib mentioned Halib Habamina Halib in the only Halib would be good enough for Zikah, but not the diaphragm or kidneys. Tafana Nichoach for also the aroma. Pesach Hamana Halib only mentioned the aroma. Habamina of the Mincha even in Mincha could be good enough. Tafana Halib for only Halib teach you that the animal's portion is required to be there in a good form in order to bring it. Okay, no Mishnah. Shlomo Kleshret Pasul of the Minha comments not in the Kleshret is Pasul. The Rabbi Yeshua Nachshir which was Kasher. Active Kumsaha Tamain. If you burnt the comments on the Mizbeach 2 different times, Kasher as Kasher. Marbi Yehuda Rabbi Bered Rabbi Yahya. Mike Tama the Rabbi Shimon was of Shimon's reason. Amakra Pasuk says Kodesh Kodashim Hi Kahatat Hashem. The Minha is Kadosh like a Hatat like an Hashem. Bala Avda Biyad. Therefore, if the Kohen wants to offer the comments by hand instead of the vessel, Avda Bimin Hatat, he can even offer on his right hand like a Hatat. The Kli, if he wants to do Kli, Of that small Hashem, you keep the left hand like you do in Hashem. That's why Rabbi Shimon will say that it's mutar to do the avodah mincha even without the kli sharet because it's not a factor. Rabbi Yonasan says no. Kevan sheik must be kli sharet. Once he did it with kli sharet, you can even bring it and burn it with anything, even if he wants to use his belt. Even even an earthenware pot. You don't need a vessel at all or hand. How come anybody would agree? The comments is own condition that the comments need to be kadosh. Meta have a question. Burning the fat limbs or wood of the fire. Whether you put it on the mizbeach by hand or by utensil. Maybe small right hand or left hand. How come it's the comments incense or livana? Hey, burn my baby by hand or utensil. Small with right hand and left hand. Kishin the kasher. It's a question against him. Because you don't need right hand even if there's a vessel not being used. Marlach Rabbi Yehuda Berei Bechia. Let's didn't claim I'm teaching you two separate halachot. Yad Yamin, when you're doing the right hand, when you're doing hand, you do the right. Bekli with the kli, and Bemi that's supposed to be either hand. Tashma bring a proof. Come and switch long that the sharet the coin did the kmitza remove the kmitza without the vessel. He made a kadosh without the vessel. You burn on the beach and burnt it without the vessel. Pasul is pasul. He says it's okay if you put in the vessel, which is a problem because it's against Rabbi Nachman, who says that you need the vessel. The Gemara says, "Ema mimatan kli ve'elach." No, after it was placed in the kli, and then it's a kasher. It's required to do that at least. Tashma bring proof. Say the comments needs the vessel. Can't how you do it. Come to me kli do the kmitza from the vessel. And you put it, the comments inside the vessel to make a kadosh. And you bring it and burn it with the kli sharet. Once you remove it from the vessel, you don't need the kli sharet, but they it's good enough. Seemingly, Rishman holds that you don't need the vessel anymore. Gemara says, no. Two things means that you have to remove it from the comments and made it kadosh with the vessel. Then you could bring it up and burn it, and that's good enough. Tashma is another proof against Rav Nachman. He did kmitza with his right hand and put it with his left hand. Yeah, so you can put it back to your right hand. This one you did it with his left hand. Then he had intention. إما حسن كما وضعت to the wrong place, إما حسن من wrong time, pasum مكرد pasum no correct. Even if it's in right hand, حسن كما pasum no correct, he did it right hand with intention in the wrong place, it's pasum no correct because not pigul. Post من wrong to that time, that is pigul v'hayin correct. Did it with Rabbi Shimon. As I can do Rabbi Shimon, v'chmim v'chmim zay, كيف شنتنا بس ما موجود in the left hand, بس the top must the makes it pasum. My time, why? Mishum debai because you need it, the comment to be in the kadosh vessel. The king shall once you put in the left hand. Now I say kedam shenishbach misavar b'ma'al as as if the blood spilled on the floor. Basafon you gather it. Shpasul that's pasul. The Marsha meichad Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon lo ba matakli. I mean, Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon does not need the kli. Tiftar Nachman, question Nachman. The Marsha says that's a good question. The Rebbe bereded Rabbi Hiyam Misayle. The Brayta would actually be an approved according to Rebbe, who says that you do need the avodah by hand. It's okay. As long as you do right hand. It's a question who says you could do with anything, even your belt. Or says Rabbi would answer you, not a question. I hold like the opinion that says that it could be done like according to the opinion that holds you could burn it. Not teaching two separate halachot. Meaning he's teaching you that it's burnt. Anyway, and the Braita says it's against my Braita. Okay. They burnt it twice. It's pasul. That's what Mishnah said. The Gemara says, "Amar Beishon of Levi, Pamaim v'lo Pamaim, twice, but not more." Amar Pamaim, I feel Pamaim, any amount of times. What the? Now what's my chalga based off of? My bad. What's the difference? Amar Bezira, Yesh comments pahog mishneh zetim. If the comments less than the two olives, Vesh haktara bechutam excited when I'm able to burn it under one kazayit. Equinox is the difference. Rabbi Shimon Levi's hold in comments behal mishneh zetim. The thing is the kmitza done less than 2 hours. Ben haktara mechol excited and the burning cannot be done less than excited. Rabbi Yochanan's various holds. Yesh comments behal mishneh zetim. Comments less than a kazayit, 2 kazayids okay. Vesh haktara behal mishneh and Rabbi Yochanan would hold that you could burn it under. You can't burn it under a kazayit. Okay, Itmar. When is the comments allow the remainder to be eaten. Rabbi Yochanan says, "Mish ma'aslab or once the fire starts burning it." Rabbi Yochanan Amar, "Mish namisit or once the fire lit most of it." Mar le Rabbi Yehuda, the Rabbi Rabbi Yitzchak. As per the time that Rabbi Yochanan I'll explain Rabbi Yochanan's reason. Amar Krab says, "V'hine alei aktor ha'aretz bekitor hakivshan." En kivshan malei kitor. Asher tatzira or mirom must be that pasuk of fire of an oven. Sounds like it's mostly on fire. Your student said in the it says only applies to Corona that's brought at nighttime. Like the limbs and fats of the animal. Like you could burn it even after sunset. With you continue burning it all night. Those can be brought during the day. If you want to comment on the comments, all these things that you could bring in after sunset. The Gemara says, "That couldn't get a 1 second. You said after sunset. You just said it's during the day. Not with sunset. And it goes overnight. How you know that it's okay? The Torah included by using the word olah, even those are okay. Now we said during with sunset. It's impossible that it's already lit on completely on fire. If you're lighting it at sunset, it can't be already mostly ignited. The Gemara says lakashya, kind of close. No, we get kapara once, except that once it's uh lit at sunset. But you want to eat it, then you need it to be fully mostly ignited. Rabbi Eliezer taught the original opinion after sunset of Makim Lab Pokim is one case where it popped off from the back from on fire. It burst off. וכן כתר אבדימי, מר ביונאי בפייני agreed. מי אמר ביונאי אחי, when Rabbi Yanai agreed, וחווה אמר ביונאי, כתורת שבפק על המזבח, כתורת that popped off from the back, אפילו קרטין שבה, אין עשינו אותן, even if it's small particle, even full particles you can't put on. בתנא רבי חנינא אמר ביונאי מדבר יעקב אשר תאכל אשת העולה על המזבח, עיקולי העולה אתה מחזיר, you only take off things that are burnt. ואתה מחזיר, you can't take off things from the כתורת. So how can you explain the Talmud case popping off? Where it says, you can take out the word ketoret. He agrees that the ketoret does not go back on. Okay. Rabbi say, Ki Pashit Rabbi Eliezer made Menahot, and Rabbi Eliezer was learning Menahot. They asked him, Komes Shizisidro, regarding Komes that the Kohen put on his beach, Bisidera Alav Maracha, then he put the wood on top of it. Can you burn it like that? That's not a good fire. That's not the way you burn. Tegel. The next question. You put the limbs on the beach. Then you put the wood on top of the limbs. Say on the wood. Which means it's still on it. Something can do either one. Take another question, no answer. What if you put the limbs on the side of the fire? If you want to say it means on specifically, that's not a question. That's inclusive because mentioned on the wood. Kibak was a question. Besamuch mentions al means next to. Hachanami al smuch therefore maybe also next to. Okay. Or maybe maybe on wood means on the on the means on top. Avhacha may also over here means that's on top of the wood, and therefore it can't be put on the side. Teku. We don't have an answer.